Davey has also been campaigning.
The man who would be Prime Minister.
Let's have a listen to what he had to say first.
Here it is, 2024, the year the voters finally get to pack up this awful, out-of-touch Conservative government, throw their disastrous policies into the skip, clean up the sleaze stains from the carpet, and eventually move the whole lot out of number 10.
So that was him.
A laboured analogy about removals, wasn't it?
That was him talking this morning. Now, this was also... OK, just watch this, right?
Here it is.
Stephen Pound, I want your commentary.
Well,
so this is him
Well, he
coming
just
round
drove over the curb. He just drove over the
curb.
curb.
He's trying to do a right turn, but he can't quite manage it. But I don't say, you think with the Liberals' record of road traffic offences, the last thing he'd want to do is to get behind the wheel of an HGV.
Dawn, have you ever seen anything so low rent in your life?
Well, in an endless list of low-rent political stunts, this is pretty much it. But, hey, at least it's got the high-vis vest on.
Yeah, do you think he borrowed it from George Osborne?
Yeah, well, you can't lead a party unless you're wearing a high-vis vest.
Yeah. It's up there with the Edstone, isn't it, really?
It is, really.
Oh.
So Ed Davey's Tory removals, time's up, with a picture of Rishi Sunak in front of number 10. It's ridiculous. Why would you give such a great big photograph of Rishi Sunak?
Your rival.
Why would you do that?
Well, I think he's
not a bad-looking bloke.
Yeah. No, I mean, most people just see, oh, there goes Rishi Sunak. Yes, I think I'll vote Conservative.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's extraordinary.
And plus, I mean, the driving was appalling.
It was. I was just going to say, with the curve. Did he have his seatbelt on?
My dad was an HGV driver, and he'd be having a heart attack.
I know. I hope. And I will be checking, of course, to make sure it's British-made, that lorry.
But did you see that? He did the right turn in the wrong lane.
Yes.
So the Liberal... This is a metaphor for the Liberal Democrats. Yeah, they've strayed into the right lane by mistake.
And there he is, standing in front of the poster, grinning like a Cheshire cat. Yeah.
It's not even an unflattering picture of Rishi Sunak. It looks quite nice. In front of 10 Downing Street door, Ed Davey's Tories removals. I'm just checking they got the apostrophe right. They did. That was a risk.
It's not demonised, is it?
Yeah.
Honestly.
But the thing is, most people don't even know who Ed Davies is. So you say they can see that. They can see.
You said Ed Davies.
It's Davey.
Davey, whatever.
Yeah. Well, no, Dawn, that says it all.
Yeah, exactly. No one knows who he is.
And there's a huge crowd of about 12 people stood in a car park in Guildford.
And he's just given a warm embrace to a very nice lady with glasses and blonde hair. No idea. It's not Mrs. Davey or Lady Davey, because he is Sir Ed.
Right, yes, of course, yes.
And you know what's so disappointing as well? Like, over the last 3 years, these guys who are meant to be about liberalism and democracy were the people who, I know you'll say shush, but during the pandemic there was an opportunity for a party to come in and
shush, I've just gone to sleep.
represent things like individual freedom and bodily autonomy, and they just badly let down even that side of the rhetoric.
People are going to vote for them because they don't know who else to vote for, certainly in the West Country. They don't want to vote Conservative, they don't want to vote Labour, they're going to vote Lib Dem. They don't know what they stand for.
Enter Reform.
Enter Reform, which is a beautiful segue, thank you, Stephen, into what we heard.
Isn't that a mobile scooter?
Richard and Ben Habib say just a moment ago in their press conference. I personally think that was a little bit of a missed opportunity for Richard Tice. It needed tightening up that speech.
Well, I think it's actually a better speech than I expected, because he was pretty passionate in a lot of places. What was the interesting thing, Dawn and I were watching it there, and we were actually marking down how many times he said working class. And I think we got up to 8 times mention of the working class, the working
out of date.
There's no such thing as the working class.
Exactly. Everybody, I mean, you know, people from our background who were from a working class background would never say, I'm working class. You just wouldn't say that.
No.
You know, it's like, you know, people from our background would keep the front room clean and tidy, but you never say, I'm not working class. It's you're aspirant. But, I mean, I think introducing Ben Habib as the candidate for Wellingborough, I mean, that was pretty much what it was all about. But then the references to Nigel Farage, it was showing a bit of leg there, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it? What did you think, Dawn?
I thought it wasn't too bad. I mean, you know, the mantra you come away with is the word working class, Brexit, stopping migration, and they're the things that are going to appeal to the disaffected Red Wall, former Labour, last 2019 election Tory voters. That's who he's aiming for, isn't he?
Yeah.
And those words were used constantly throughout, and we know that repetition in a speech works to get that point over.
But as a journalist, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm fascinated to know your insight into this. Andrew said as well, where are your pull quotes?
Yeah.
Where is the line you're going to put in your column?
Wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was too bad, to be honest with you. But no, there was no standout, right, get that on the front page, that's a great headline.
And there was no great new policy.
Well,
now,
this
they're doing what Starmer's doing, hiding their light under a bushel, but there was no new policy. We already know about you won't pay tax until you're earning £20,000.
Yeah.
Well, I think there was one, Andrew. I mean,
what was it?
There's the thing that the Trésor de Clerc, because I think when he talked about one in and one out, that is a facile, nonsensical. In terms of immigration, he's saying one in, one out. Anybody with half an ounce of wit would know that simply is impossible.
Well, he said
and yet,
he said
it's a soundbite.
It doesn't even work with car parks.
Well, no,
Does it?
No,
You've all sat in a queue at NCP and it's one in, one out.
Enough of Ed Davies driving.
It didn't work on the queue for the embankment on New Year's Eve. But
Exactly.
I mean, the point being that it's that sort of soundbite that he needs.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that it doesn't stand up to any sort of examination whatsoever.
Ben Habib, however, is a very impressive orator. He talks from the heart. He's a successful, self-made man.
Yeah.
And I think that is a very, very impressive... It's a good choice for this by-election, but you're not convinced the by-election is going to take place, are you, Andrew?
Well, the by-election has to take place. A writ has to be moved, and it hasn't been moved yet. So there's another potential by-election taking place in Blackpool. They might do it together. But if the Tories have an election in May, they can kick this can down the road till March, by which time Parliament is prorogued. There won't even be a blooming by-election.
Well, there's not going to be an election in May, not a general election in May.
You never know.
I don't think there is at all.
I'll put money on it. But
I would.
You know, I know quite a few Tory MPs, and they're not going to give up 80 grand a year knowing
Well,
that
it's
they're
not up to them, Stephen. Did you not notice?
Of course it is.
It's a gift of the Prime Minister.
Exactly.
And they
So
make
who listens?
they make the decisions selfishly for their own personal reasons.
Indeed, with involving the 1922 committee and involving the Whip's office. And, you know, believe you me, that the Whips will be saying, look, there's no appetite. Plus, the main thing is the Mr McCorber thing. Something will turn up. You know, inflation is coming down. You know, thanks be to the gods of the weather. You know, the amount of boats coming here and going.
But then you have a hot June, a hot July, a hot August, and the boats surge across the channel.
They're predicting a record high,
and that would be a record, and that would be
Unless-
catastrophic.
Unless a plane has taken off to Rwanda
Which would
by
be great.
June and July.
With 30,000 people on board.
That's what
Who
it's
then come
like.
back.
Yes.
That's Rwanda. If it gets one plane
Yeah.
with God knows how many Home Secretaries on it, we've sent more, haven't we, infamously, off to Rwanda, then that will maybe...
Do you think it would be a game
Andrew, I think
changer?
where there's a possibility, right, is there is the council elections in May and the mayoral elections in the big cities.
Yeah.
It could well be that they will piggyback on that, and because I think they've written off both Wellingborough and Blackpool South.
Oh, I'm sure they have.
So they're quite actually like it's a good day to bury bad results.
But if they pull off an unlikely victory in May in London, they go in June.
Isn't it also something about if you're the incumbent party, you want the election in bad weather as opposed to good weather?
I think that's pretty old-fashioned.
No, the myth was the Tories, because back in the old days, you know, Labour didn't have cars.
Yeah.
The Tories did.
Yeah.
So in bad weather, they'd come out and vote.
And so many people vote by post now.
I know.
Right.
It's ridiculous. You know, when I first got involved in politics, we'd sit outside the polling station asking for the polling cards. We had these things called reading pads.
Yeah.
And so we could...
Nobody Queen Victoria was on the stamps.
Indeed. Well, no, we hadn't actually quite got that advanced yet. We still had sticks with letters stuck in the top.
I think with November as well, you're going to have less young people going out to vote in November.
That was suit them.
There was a recent poll, wasn't there, about so many
that would suit the Tories.
Yeah.
And the elderly as well.
But it also linked with the
That's
American...
with the presidential election.
Yeah, exactly
First week in November.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised early autumn, maybe September, October, I'm thinking.
Well, should we put our money on the table?
No.
I bet you a bullseye it's November.
You won't pay. You're from the Labour Party.